Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. In answer to this question, I'm going to summarize from a booklet on this subject written by one of the students of knowledge in Yemen. His name is Anwar ibn Mahmud al-Rifa'i, hafidhahullah ta'ala, a student of knowledge who is well grounded, and some of them even refer to him as being a sheikh. And the name of the booklet that I'm going to be summarizing these benefits from, I'll send the book and attach the link with this audio clip, is called حل الإشكال في مسائل صيام الست من شوال. He wrote several different benefits or PDFs, and then he compiled all of them into one booklet. And this is the title of the booklet, which I will share inshallah. So the scholars generally are divided into two opinions with regards to the legislation or the prescription of fasting the 6 days of Shawwal. Some say it's prescribed and some say it's not prescribed. Those who say it's prescribed, one of the most famous evidences they quote is the hadith of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, which is reported by Muslim. Imam Muslim rahimahullah, in his Sahih, hadith number 1164, if you look at Sahih Muslim, you see that it has like letterings: 1164A, 1164B, 1164C. And this is why the scholars, they praise Sahih Muslim, because he brings all of the hadith or the different riwayat relating to the same hadith under one section, which is different to Bukhari. So Bukhari might relay the hadith here and then another riwayah of the same hadith somewhere else, and so on, based on the fiqh, based on the context that he wants to quote the hadith for to prove a certain point. So with Bukhari, we benefit from his fiqh in the way he derives rulings from a hadith, whereas with Muslim we benefit in terms of his organization of the hadith. So it's very organized. So this is why we have these letters: 1164A, 1064B, 1164C. So there's three riwayat here that he quotes. The first one, he says, Haddathana, it was narrated to me by, and then he mentioned three different narrators narrated to him this same hadith. They are Yahya ibn Ayyub, Qutayba ibn Sa'id, Ali ibn Hujr. These three reporters all narrated from Ismail ibn Ja'far, who narrated from Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari. The reason why I'm mentioning this chain of narration is because of this man here, Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari. This man, just remember his name. He narrated this hadith from Umar ibn Thabit ibn al-Harith al-Khazraji, who narrated it from Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, who heard it from the Prophet ﷺ. And the actual wording of the hadith is, Man sama Ramadan thumma atba'ahu sittan min Shawwal kana ka siyam ad-dahr. Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan and then follows it up by fasting 6 days of Shawwal, it's as though he's fasted siyam ad-dahr, fasted the entire year. And then the other narrations, 1164B, 1064C, are similar. All of them are coming from the root of Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari, this man who narrated it from Umar ibn Thabit. So this is the main hadith, the most famous hadith on this topic, the hadith of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Although there are other hadiths from the Prophet ﷺ, from other Sahabas, which we are going to mention shortly inshallah, but this is the main hadith. So that's view number one. Those who say it's legislated, this is their main hadith. The second view is that it's not legislated. And those who hold this view, they have two main arguments. The first argument is, they said the hadith which is quoted by the other side, the hadith of Abu Ayyub, contains Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari, and this man is Sayyi'ul Hifd. This man is a narrator who has poor memory. So they said the hadith is weak. The hadith of Abu Ayyub is weak because of this man. He has poor memory. even though the hadith is found in Muslim, sometimes you find hadith in Muslim and a handful of hadith and a handful of hadith also in Bukhari that some of the scholars criticize. Okay, so these guys are saying hadith of Ayyub is weak because this man had poor memory. Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari. That's the first argument. The second argument, which is what you said in your question, is that this was not from the practice of the Salaf, as quoted by Imam Malik. That Imam Malik said, I didn't see this to be practiced in Medina. And that's where most of the Sahaba resided, which is why from the principles of the Malikiyya or Imam Malik is Amal Ahl al-Madina. Part of his fiqh is to look at the implementation of the people of Medina, because the Sunnah would have been passed down generation after generation, and it wasn't too long before the last Sahaba passed away. So those are the two arguments of those who are saying it's not legislated, it's not prescribed to fast the 6 days of Shawwal. Abu Ayyub's hadith is weak and it wasn't from the practice of the Salaf. Okay, so now let's look at these two arguments. The first argument is the hadith of Abu Ayyub is weak. This criticism of theirs is incorrect for two main reasons. Firstly, the hadith of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, which was reported from Sa'ad ibn Sa'id ibn Qais al-Ansari, we agree that this narrator has poor memory. However, the person who Sa'ad ibn Sa'id is narrating from, Umar ibn Thabit, there are four other people aside from Sa'ad ibn Sa'id. Four other people aside from Sa'ad ibn Sa'id who have narrated the same hadith from Umar ibn Thabit ibn al-Harith al-Khazraji, all mentioning the same wording. They are the two brothers of Sa'ad ibn Sa'id. So Sa'ad ibn Sa'id has two other brothers, and those two other brothers are more reliable and trustworthy in the narrating of hadith than him. The other two are thiqah, are credible and reliable, trustworthy narrators. They are Yahya ibn Sa'id and Abdu Rabbih ibn Sa'id. His two brothers, both of them narrated this same hadith from Umar ibn Thabit. So that's two individuals already. Then there's also Safwan ibn Sulaym. Safwan ibn Sulaym also is one who is trustworthy. And the fourth one is Zayd ibn Aslam. Zayd ibn Aslam is also trustworthy. So four trustworthy narrators. All have narrated the same hadith as Sa'ad ibn Sa'id from Umar ibn Thabit. So these, the scholars of hadith will refer to them as mutaba'at. قد توبع سعد بن سعيد قد توبع في حديثه هذا by four narrators who are trustworthy. This is why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions in Tahdhib al-Sunan, volume 1, page 477, after mentioning these mutaba'at, these supporting narrations from these four others, he concludes that the hadith is authentic. And likewise at-Tahawi as well, after mentioning the four other supporting narrators, he said the hadith is authentic. And likewise Shaykh Albani and others. So the hadith is authentic. Even if we say Sa'ad ibn Sa'id is weak, there are others who are strong, who have narrated from the same source, Umar ibn Thabit, and they have said the same thing. So to criticize the hadith because of 1 out of 5, and this one is the weakest of the 5, and it's incorrect to say that the hadith is weak. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, Muslim إنما احتج بحديثه لأنه ظهر له أنه لم يخطئ فيه بقراء ومتابعات. The only reason why Imam Muslim narrated this hadith from Sa'ad ibn Sa'id, even though he's someone who is sayy al-hifz, he's weak in memory, is because it was clear to Imam Muslim, that he was not mistaken in this particular hadith that he was narrating. That's why he included this in his authentic compilation, because it was clear to Imam Muslim that he was not mistaken in him narrating this hadith, in this particular hadith. And then he says, Ibn al-Qayyim continues to say, فَكَوْنُ الرَّجُلِ يُخْطِئُ فِي شَيْءٍ لَا يَمْنَعُ الْاحْتِجَاجَ بِهِ فِيمَا ظَهَرَ أَنَّهُ لَمْ يُخْطِئ فِيهِ. The fact that a person, he makes mistakes in certain things, does not mean that he is written off completely, especially in those things where it's clear that he hasn't made a mistake. So this is why Muslim narrated from him. The second counter argument against those who say that the hadith is weak is the hadith of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, regarding fasting 6 days of Shawwal after Ramadan is not limited to Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. He's not the only Sahaba who's narrated this hadith. Although we've already concluded that his hadith is authentic, he was not the only Sahaba who narrated this hadith. We have 4 other Sahaba who narrated the hadith. Abu Huraira, and his hadith is authentic. We have the second Sahabi is Thawban. His hadith has been narrated by Ahmad ibn Hibban, Nasa'i ibn Majah, Al-Bayhaqi ibn Khuzaymah, with slight variations in the wording. The hadith of Jabir. We have also the hadith of Ibn Abbas. 4 other companions who have narrated on the same topic of fasting 6 days of Shawwal. Some people, they might say, oh, the Prophet ﷺ did not practice it. So the author of this booklet, Hallul Ishka fi Masail al-Siyam, he said, I've seen some people saying that the Prophet ﷺ himself did not fast the 6 days of Shawwal. So he says, the fact that the Prophet ﷺ stated it, expressed it verbally, that fasting 6 days of Shawwal has this virtue, is sufficient. Because there are a number of issues where the Prophet ﷺ spoke and said that this is something which is virtuous, but he himself never did it himself. The author didn't give any examples, but one example which comes to mind is the issue of adhan. How many times does the Prophet ﷺ mention the virtues of adhan? And that they will come with the longest neck, that everything that hears the adhan will come and bear witness for this person. That's why you should raise your voice. All of these ahadith regarding the virtue of adhan that the Prophet expressed verbally, but did he himself ever do adhan? We don't know. It hasn't been related to us that the Prophet himself did adhan. So does this mean that it's not sunnah? It's not sunnah to call adhan? So this is not even an argument. طيب. So we go to what was ascribed to Imam Malik. So Imam Malik, it's ascribed to him كما قال يحيى في روايته, as was mentioned by Yahya in his version of Al-Muwatta. He says, وسمعت مالكا يقول في صيام 6 أيام بعد الفطر من رمضان إنه لم يرى أحدا من أهل العلم والفقه يصومها. That he heard Malik saying that the 6 days of Shawwal after Ramadan, that he did not see anyone from the people of knowledge of fiqh fasting it. وَلَمْ يَبْلُغْنِي ذَلِكَ عَنْ أَحَدٍ مِنَ السَّلَفِ, and it has not reached me that this was a practice from anyone from the Salaf. وَإِنَّ أَهْلَ الْعِلْمِ يَكْرَهُونَ ذَلِكَ, and that the scholars, the people of knowledge, they dislike that. يَخَافُونَ بِدْعَتَهُ, and they even fear that it may be an innovation. وَأَنْ يُلْحَقَ بِرَمَضَانَ, and that perhaps the people of ignorance are going to include the 6 days as part of Ramadan. It becomes 1 month and 6 days. That's wajib for some people if they are given this allowance and they see some of the people of knowledge and the people of virtue practicing it. That's the statement ascribed to Imam Malik. The Malikiyah, the people who ascribe to the madhab of Malik themselves, have interpreted the statement of Imam Malik, and they've given different interpretations. From that is that lam yablughu al-hadith. Some of them said perhaps the hadith of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari and the other hadith have not reached Imam Malik. That's why he mentioned this. Because if there is nas in the mas'ala, if there is explicit text in a particular subject matter, no one else can speak after the statement of the Prophet ﷺ has come. So this is one ta'wil that they've given. Perhaps it didn't reach him. And it's possible, Imam Malik is a human being. Perhaps it didn't reach him. You have some of the Sahaba, they hold certain aqwal even though they are Sahaba. And that's because the hadith did not reach them. So if that's Sahaba who are more knowledgeable than those who came after them, imagine Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala. So perhaps the hadith did not reach him. That's one interpretation. وَمِنْهَا أَنَّهُ بَلَغَهُ وَإِنَّمَا كَرِهَ أَنْ يَظُنَّ النَّاسُ أَنَّهَا وَاجِبَةٌ بَعْدَ رَمَضَانَ. Or perhaps it did reach him, the hadith did reach him, but the only reason why he disliked to fast the 6 days of Shawwal is for fear that people will think that it's wajib. ومنها أنه كره إلصاق الست برمضان فيظن الناس أن الست تابعة له. And the other interpretation is that the hadith perhaps has reached him, but he only disliked it for fear that people would include these 6 days as part of Ramadan. So that's interpretations given by the Malikiyah themselves. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says in Tahdhib al-Sunan, قال مطرف كان مالك يصومها في خاصة نفسه. Mutarrif narrated that Malik used to fast the 6 days of Shawwal في خاصة نفسه, يعني on his own, without manifesting it and making it obvious to the people. He used to do it himself. And the reason, يعني Mutarrif continues, he says Malik used to fast it by himself, يعني he used to do it himself without making it obvious. And he said he only disliked it for fear that the people of ignorance will add it to Ramadan. As for one who wants and desires to fast it, then he did not prohibit people to do it. So, in conclusion of this mas'ala, the saying that it has not come from any of the Salaf, this goes against reality, because Imam Malik himself used to fast. So to say that it hasn't come from any of the Salaf, Imam Malik himself used to fast. So perhaps when Imam Malik rahimahullah, he said that it hasn't reached me that any of the people of virtue and so on used to fast, perhaps he intended a specific meaning. Maybe what reached him was that they never used to announce it and make it obvious and so on, so that for fear people would think that it's part of Ramadan and believe that it's something which is wajib. Maybe this is what he was negating, not the fact that it's absolutely not legislated. If it wasn't legislated, he himself would not fast. The final point he mentions is that al-khawf min ilsaqi Ramadan bis-sitti فيظنها الجهال منه لا يعني عدم صيامها. The fact that there's fear that some of the ignorant ones will assume the 6 days of Shawwal is part of Ramadan, or that it's obligatory to fast, should not prevent people from implementing the Sunnah. There should not be a prevention for people to implement what has come in the texts. فأخطاء الجهال لا تقضي على النصوص الشرعية بل النصوص الشرعية تقضي على الجهل. So the ignorance of such people should not be a judge over the texts, should not be used as a basis to disregard the texts. Rather, the texts are a judge over the jahl of these people. So, ينبغي تعليمهم لا إلغاء العلم بسببهم. Rather, what's incumbent is that they are taught. The juhal are taught using these texts, not that their jahl is used in order to disregard the texts and not implement it. Rather, they should be taught and the sunnah should be implemented. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.